Hi, I'm Shaky, and these are my tales of times forgotten. This is Shaky Subject Matter. All right, this is SHKE Radio coming to you live from Kenosha, Wisconsin. Instead of Studio 306, I left Fez at home. He's been very bad lately. Last podcast, he tried to do karate on me, so I was not happy with him. So, all right, I'm here with a horror host out of Kenosha, Wisconsin, named Dr. Destruction. Say hi, Doctor.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay, so I discovered the doctor on my Facebook page when he said he was coming to Chicago. So I sent him a message back. He said, "Chicago, I'm coming for you." I said, "Okay, who are you and why are you coming?" So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Doctor?
Well, let's see. Where did it all start? It started with the punk rock wave coming to this part of the country about in 79 and 80. And one of my first bands was called Pink Godzillas. And then, anyway, by 84, then I was really like giving the music, my band, a goth kind of spin. Really, there wasn't around like that yet. Even though we had the Bauhaus, which is sort of like the Godfathers of goth, or we had the Cramps, and we just said it was sort of like a horror rock thing. But I started really just. I always was a monster kid as a kid when I was young. Those punk rock era from maybe 18 to 21 was very self-destructive and and I lost track. I didn't watch Creature Features. I mean, I didn't watch Sven Gulli or the new Sven Gulli or none of that. I was busy doing stuff.
Yeah.
But in 84, really nostalgia came back at me hard. And I wanted to do the horror thing. And I think even like the movie The Christmas Story might have got all that going. Because I saw that in 83 at the theater for a $2 movie. And I walked out of the theater after I saw that. And I told my girlfriend, I said, we just saw something really special here. This is really special. And I almost forgot about that movie till all of a sudden it showed up on Turner Classics and became this new Halloween classic. But I knew already then, and of course it had Darren McGavin in it, the Night Stalker. So
yes.
I made that was a connection. A lot of things I connected with that movie. It looks like schools around here, so I was looking at getting the feeling of when I was in elementary school. Brought me back to the monsters because that's what I was into. And so there are a lot of things in that movie that are interesting. I like many people, kids, they sent away for the 6 foot tall or 7 foot tall
the
Frankenstein
monster poster,
right?
Yes.
Yep. And it was a big deal to send anything when I was a little kid. So we sent for that, and then I seen they had the picture of the casket. Oh yeah, it's going to be in a big box, and I'm thinking what I'm going to do with the box and all this stuff. Anyway, the thing turns out to be in a bag, plastic bag material. And it was a big letdown, not unlike the decoder ring in that movie. But the other thing, too, is my imagination with the crate coming, and, of course, watching Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. That was another thing that drew me to the movie because the leg lamp comes in and the music that they're playing thematically in the background almost sounds like from a Universal film, if you ever noticed that. Yeah. So I wonder if that was intentional. Bob Clark, he did direct Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
And Porky's.
Yeah.
Let's not forget
that. So that made a big connection, but the movie's great anyway, and it brought back a lot of nostalgia. And if you seen that one scene, I watched the movie a million times and never noticed until lately that there's a Frankenstein mask next to the Zeppelin under the Christmas tree when the kid is,
I have not seen that.
When the kid is sleeping. It's a cool one too. Yeah. I don't know if it's from the time. So that might have been what got me into doing the horror thing and the horror band. And so then I started doing haunted houses, and I had this reputation, Dale Destruction, and so I did that, and then it all just kind of, everything just built up. And then they asked me to do the horror host program. I go, well, I was trying to do that already in 93, but there was like a Christian lady that ran the station, and she sabotaged me. So, but anyway, in 2001, then I started doing the show, and immediately I had an audience because I had an audience to bring to that in the first place. And I don't think Sven Gulli was even on at the time. He's been on and off.
Yeah,
they try to play it like he's 40 years, but he's not consistent. And so anyway, it just found an audience right away. And I remember when they started that out, the guy said, "Well, we want to call you Dr. Destruction." And I'm like, that's the worst. I hate that. I go, I want to be the unruly Ghoulie. Yeah. And do this totally other character. But they thought because I had built up such a reputation for so long locally that it'd be good. And they were right. So, anyway, here I am 18 years later, still a blockhead sitting in a pumpkin patch in the rain.
Well, this is the first for me. I've never done an interview in a
gypsy
room,
van?
gypsy van. What is it?
Well, it's sort of a gypsy wagon idea. Pretty much, kind of that idea. Well, the gypsies are always in the monster movies.
Yeah.
But so then you've been playing, and it just so pretty much since I've been 18. I mean, I never really stopped playing music or anything.
And you have a band that goes around here too, right?
Yeah, the Roosevelt Dolls. We got some big shows coming up for Halloween.
Yeah,
big Halloween party on the 31st with Elvis, Frank Sinatra, and a girl that does Marilyn. It's really
and they are not all the same person.
No, they're not all the same person.
I was worried about that at first.
That could be interesting.
So
so that keeping that in the horror theme in the band, but not every song is necessarily. I don't want to just do every song's a horror rock song or goth or whatever. Yeah. I've seen so much of all these different genres that I really don't want to just stick to just one musically, I suppose. But so that's where it's at. The Crimson Theater is still going on. I even have to wonder myself sometimes how long that's going to last.
Yeah, well, it's nice to watch that. I mean, the internet's totally changed everything. I probably would never have known about you if it wasn't for this.
Well, you might have, because I was hitting the convention circuit pretty hard to the point where Sid Haig and I talked a million times, and so it really was sad to see him pass. I think we kind of knew it was coming, but still, nevertheless. So you might have known me from that. That's where the internet's good. Where the downfall is, though, is I know people still like watching the show on cable, but back then, the cable company was the only one in town.
Yeah.
So it was the same as being on broadcast television. But now people have so many, they tell me all the time, well, I don't get Spectrum anymore. And that's why I tell them about the links, which is cool that we got the streaming and the Roku channel. So
yeah, it's nice to have that. And now they're making you're on one of them. There's several different horror host channels now.
Yeah.
I can't recall which one you're on because there's
Am
5
I on
of them.
one of them? I don't know. So, I didn't think
you were for a little while. I don't know what happened.
Didn't think they like me too much.
They changed the links a lot.
They don't like me because I'll tell them what I think. The thing is for the most part with everything I do, you want to be nice to everybody and you want everything to. Well, it's BS. If someone's pulling that, then I'm going to call them out because I'll go back to my old days as a punk rocker. There's something there with that. With me, that it was almost like some people would say, "Oh, he was a punk before it was punk rock." There was just something about I had a bad attitude, or the other thing was I grew up around a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say cynicism. My mom and my grandma could be very sarcastic.
Yes, yeah.
They'd label everything and they call everybody else on BS. And then my two friends in high school were the same way as them two, and then the three of us got together. So that manifested into where, and then the whole punk rock thing happened. It seemed like a perfect time for me because I wanted to be in a band, and it wasn't too hard to play punk rock. So that was going to be the thing. And I really, at that point, because everything comes here a little bit later sometimes, the Midwest. Yeah. But in 1979, if you were punk rock, you'd get a very redneck kind of. People would want to beat you out. People wouldn't let you into parties. Yeah. So it was like to stick with that. We'd have to change. They wanted you to change, and we never did. But so anyway, so that attitude's still there, pretty much. Even though I've really censored myself a lot.
Yeah.
Well, you get older. You let things go. But yeah, but so the horror host things really. There's a lot of people doing really good. There's some really good shows. There's some other really bad shows. And mine's probably one of the bad ones, but I don't know where people are coming from with that sometimes, because really this was the thing that the Weatherman, the Anchorman, somebody did for extra change, or the guy that did the morning kids show, he did the horror host, because I don't know if there's much of a career other than spend coolly for wrapping 10 minutes of audio around a movie that's not yours, it's somebody else's content. I mean, and his breaks are super short. I seen a commercial. I go, oh, there was a commercial on the TV. I was visiting my mom, and I thought I was going to actually see him, and I didn't even see him in the commercial. So
yeah,
but it's cool. I think most of the horror, people watching horror host shows are horror hosts, maybe. But
Well,
then there's like any entertainment
Yes.
thing, there's going to be a lot of drama because that's if it's music, actors. I don't care if it's entertainment. If it's just about anything, to tell you the truth, there's drama because and Facebook can manifest that even more so. But like I said, there's some really good ones. Sometimes I think people copied me. Sometimes I think they're seeing something that I copied. I don't know.
Well, it's like I said, there's a broad spectrum of horror hosts out there.
Yes,
and
but it's a good thing it's still alive.
Some of them they shouldn't be doing it. They should have some scripting. They should have something going on besides the way they do their show. That's just my opinion, not the doctors. But God bless them for trying. But
right,
I don't. There's a point when you're watching somebody go on a microphone for 10 minutes with somebody, and they say 3 sentences.
Right,
it gets a little. Like I said, that's my opinion, not the doctor.
No, I see. So. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a lot of people jumped on that bandwagon that never had any background in entertainment or anything like that. I don't know. For me, it was a thing that clicked because I was so known in the community before I started the horror host program, and then people liked it, and then I was pretty uncensored in the beginning. I found out seniors were coming up to me and talking about having. That's their movie night with their grandkids, and I thought, you know what, you got to pull this back a little bit. Yeah. And because there was a lot of shenanigery going on.
Yeah. Well, there's a guy in Illinois that does one, and I can't even watch his show because of the way he talks through the whole show.
Who could that be?
Yeah, who could that be? And I turned on the show. There's some woman from my town was on the show with him.
Okay.
I was just like, what's going on?
You're talking about...
Yeah.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I sent her a message. I said, what are you doing on this?
Well, I don't know what's going on, but I know who you're talking about, and I know his orange wig-wearing buddy, and those two had a Blog Talk Radio thing that they did, which I didn't think of from a radio standpoint. It was very professional, but that's my opinion. And they took task to ridicule another host from Chicago area, and spent their whole show basically stating why this guy didn't deserve to be in the nomination for the Rondos Awards, that's a popularity contest. But Svengoolie won again, right?
I heard some talk about that.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things with the voting and everything else. And whatnot, but that was not cool. I mean, I'll tell you what, man, that guy's probably could release 100 disc set of all the interviews that guy's. Yeah. He knows no shame. He'll go up to anybody and ask for an interview,
I know somebody like that.
Well, that's where you got to be.
Yeah.
So, if you got that happening,
Yeah, well, I've seen Greg a few times. And the first time I saw him was at a show called Resin Heads. I don't know if you went to that show or not.
No.
But that was the best convention I've ever been to. Reggie was there. Reggie from Phantasm was there, and Ginger Lynn Allen, Rockford's very own, was there. And
the thing is I don't got no real beef or anything with any of these people that are going to conventions or doing a horror host thing. I mean, I will be sarcastic and I will call stuff out, but it isn't like I got a real problem. I mean, when I grew up in bands, man, we were beating each other up. We had real issues, not this, Facebook thing or whatever. That's
let's get off of the talking about bad horror hosts.
Okay,
let's talk about. We could talk about bad horror movies.
Yeah.
Some of my favorites are made for TV.
Okay.
And one of them I'm going to bring up, since you're into punk rock, is a very little known movie starring, what's her name? Sean Astin's mom. The twins from the TV show. They're cousins, identical cousins. What was the name of that show?
I don't remember.
Oh my God. Well, we can't remember.
With those two girls that look alike, they look like aliens?
Patty Duke. The Patty Duke show. The Patty Duke show.
Okay, right.
So the Patty Duke show. Patty Duke played Rosemary.
Okay.
And it was called Look What's Happened to Rosemary's Baby. It was a made-for-television film,
I've never seen that one.
and very few people have. I saw it when it was on first run, and then I saw it about 35 years later, and I really remembered it better on the first run. But it's kind of like he's half the devil fighting his bad self.
Okay.
It's kind of like Marvel Comics' Son of Satan as a film.
Okay.
But man, it's horrible. And the guy who plays Rosemary's Baby ended up being the head vampire of the Assassins on the Strain TV series. If you have any idea what I'm talking about,
I don't.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But you say you like bad movies.
Yeah, I love them.
I don't know. Sometimes I think they hurt the genre, but I just remember as far as television goes, things that were on television that were epic and viral before that word was, because I'm talking about the early to mid 70s, is Darren McGavin's first movie, The Night Stalker. Everybody was talking about that. Of course, Karen Black in Trilogy of Horror. Everybody was talking. That was nuts. And another one that was like that, really wasn't the same kind of film though, is Duel with was it Robert Weaver?
McLeod.
Yeah, McLeod. Yeah. And that was Spielberg's early film. That one went viral, and of course, Gargoyles.
Dennis Weaver. Gargoyles.
Dennis Weaver, yes.
Bernie Casey.
Yeah.
From Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
The Dean from Revenge of the Nerds was the head gargoyle.
So those were really big and great. I don't know, some of Ed Wood's films. I think Bride of the Monster snuck in there on me. They put that in between Universal films for Creature Feature.
Yeah.
And so I just accepted that as a classic. I was too young to recognize that Bella was much older and whatnot, but I always liked the idea of the creepy house and the octopus. And
I've not seen a lot of Ed Wood movies. Other than I just have, me personally, not my deal.
Okay.
They have to be color. I was born in the 70s.
All right. Yeah, I watch a lot of black and white stuff because I'm old.
Yes. Well, I'm getting there myself.
I love all the Universal classics. I mean, though those...
I like those, but like Ed Wood's, I'm really not into the sci-fi genre at all.
I am
even though it's Star Wars.
Yeah, that's not as big as classic horror is to me. Star Wars didn't really do much for me when I saw it when I first came out. I was intrigued in the beginning by the poster that had the Leia and what's his name with the lightsaber.
Ben Kenobi.
No.
Luke Skywalker.
Luke.
Okay.
And then it had this big picture of like a giant. I thought it was like a statue of Darth Vader's. And this is at a time when I've never been introduced to Darth Vader. Nobody has yet. And I thought of the Sphinx from the Time Machine movie, and I thought it was going to be more like that weirdness, like the Time Machine. And then I found out it was just this plastic armor, which I saw walking around out here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. So that really wasn't. So I agree agreement on the sci-fi. It's really got to be like the classic horror for me.
Yeah.
I like it better. I do like the original Star Trek and Lost in Space though, the TV show. I can't believe how silly that got after a while. And you know what's interesting to me about Lost in Space is that Vincent Price had a hard time getting like leading roles and stuff because he was too well spoken. I guess we'll leave it at that. And Dr. Smith, Jonathan Harris has got that quality too, almost a little more over the top. I can't believe that even in the 60s still, when there's a lot of reservations about things, how he managed to just run that show. Yeah. And he was just he was writing half the show after a while. And it's just bizarre to watch. That would happen. Then I find out, he's from Brooklyn. And the way he talks is done purposely. He copied actors to try to sound sophisticated. And
that show, I watched a documentary about that show. It went on until the 90s as a #1 show in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Then you got to wonder what's going on in Australia.
Well, went through a real silly period. It seemed like it got near with the third season, they were trying to rope it back in a little bit. But it is what it is. But that was, probably early introduction of me with monsters before I saw the Universal, because that was a babysitter, and I got to stay up late.
Now, were you there when? Did you start watching any of the? You said you didn't when you were older, but when you were younger, did you watch the horror host shows?
Yes, actually I did, because that's just kind of where I was going to. Is I remember watching Frankenstein with the babysitter for the first time, and the creature features. It might have actually been before it actually was creature feature. Like they just put the movies out on, and then later they came with that awesome intro with the Henry Mancini music.
Yes.
So then I found out about that. Then I found out about Sven Gulli, and then we had Dr. Cadaverino out of Milwaukee. Yeah. So I had two horror hosts growing up at the same time, and I'd watch both shows. So I knew, unlike many people in Illinois, Sven Gulli ain't the only one. And then,
well, that's what
now, and he ain't even the original one now.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. I thought it was just like him. I didn't know there was other ones.
Well, nobody really did, because there wasn't the communication like there is now. Yeah. And back there'd be a different one in every city. Yes. I've noticed them do similar skits, like the big station told little stations, here's what you do this. Yeah. So I had Dr. Cadaverino was on so late, he was scary to watch. And he was super edgy too. Yeah. He was probably more edgy than the original Sven Gulli was.
What did he look like? A brief description.
By the time I got to seeing him, he had a beard and he had like these fangs. He just wore this wig with a hat. I don't really think there was a heck of a lot of makeup. And he had a sidekick that was headless called Igor, and that creeped me out too. And plus, he's on super late, so not only am I up at 12:30 at night, I'm also afraid of getting yelled at for having the TV on in my room at 12:30 at night. Yeah. So I had two. Then we had Two Loose No Neck in Milwaukee, and
Two Loose No Neck.
Two Loose No Neck, okay. Shot Theater. That was came on in the early '80s. I remember one of our bands. We went down there and saw him downtown. I still got the signed. I still have his signed promo card, and so I got watched him through the '80s, and he was doing the horror host thing. And then when I first started my show, I hadn't even done my 5th show yet. You got to find your character with that. Yeah. I mean, all the stuff I did with bands and music and everything, but I never really did that. And so they bring on Two Loose No Neck, the actual guy. He wasn't in costume, but we did a nice interview. It's on YouTube. Yeah. So yeah, I knew about all the different ones. Of course, I knew about Vampira. I mean, I knew she was a horror hostess, and Vampira's been in all the old famous monsters forever, so everybody knows she's like the other than the Bride of Frankenstein, the next one.
That was kind of a rough way to treat that lady. They should have given her. I think they should have given her something with that. Elvira should have given her something. Well, she was supposed to be. It was going to be. They were going to call her Vampira, and she was going to have something to do with it, and. But then they just changed the name, and she sued, but she didn't even show up in court. Yeah. So that was that. But if you've seen him, I know you don't like the Ed Wood movies. He did a movie called Orgy of the Dead. Mm-hmm. Orgy of the Dead is basically a werewolf and a mummy, and then he's got Griswold, and then it's strippers. Yeah. But there's a girl in that movie. She wore the Elvira costume before Elvira did, and I know that if they were in negotiations with Vampira, there's no way they didn't know about that Ed Wood movie, because she's got the knife in the dress, the hair, the whole thing exactly. Yeah. Exactly. What about, did you ever watch any of the Santo films?
The Wrestler?
Yes.
Yes, I have seen some of those.
Okay, I've watched those once in a while. I like the one where he fights the vampire women.
Or the mummy.
And the classic one is the El Hombre Lobo. Dracula and El Hombre Lobo. Oh, I love that one too. So that's just I was just throwing that in there.
Some of those the Mexican films they were really I don't know if they're really inspired by Mario Bava a little bit, but they were really bringing back the classic feel at a time when not too many others were. I suppose Roger Corman's going on around that same time, but like the Vampire's Coffin or the Brainiac. That's a crazy movie. There's a couple of them like that, and so they really did their good job. And of course, Mario Bava's stuff is fantastic, and then you got the whole Godzilla Toho film thing. Yes, that's another whole set.
Did you? I did an episode on Channel 44 out of Chicago. Did you have that channel or no?
No.
Okay, they had the lineup of Ultraman and Space Giants and
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking then or now?
Back then.
Yeah. I caught that.
Yeah.
I got to admit, I was getting into my later teen years, and I think I started watching all them shows, and it just got me. It was too much. It was just too many fake rubber suits. And,
Yeah.
And then finally something like Godzilla versus Megalon comes along, and I'm like, it's the same rubber, cheap, ultra cheap,
Yeah. That's the one with Jet Jaguar, right?
Huh?
Jet Jaguar, the silver robot guy.
That tries to stand him up.
That's
It was. I always said that was the worst Godzilla film ever made until America started.
Yeah, well,
Especially, they've
been pretty.
They're terrible.
Yeah, I hear you there.
Now I tell you what, I think it's just something the Japanese should be doing in the first place, because you never really get that. It's just thematically, it's something of theirs. They've got the dragon in their culture, the nuclear thing, and I think I can't believe that. And that Dotary guy, I thought, he's gonna be good because I love Trick or Treat. And I love this Krampus movie. But you know what? It might be something culturally that's the block here. Because if a guy like that tapped into those other things so well, did such a bad job on this Godzilla movie, I just think let the Japanese, give them the money.
Not to interrupt you, but I couldn't even see what was going on with the monsters
It's
in the
terrible.
Godzilla movie. What is this?
Well, they always said darkness hides production flaws,
Yeah.
so that might have been what it is. But
horrible.
Yeah, it was. I got halfway through this newest one, and I was like, I paid my money. I got to sit here. And but I think they ought to scrap the Kong movie was horrible. I turned that off. Right halfway through, I turned it off, and I turned my TV off and played old vinyl records. I was so pissed at that.
It's okay.
Okay,
We can say that one.
Okay,
we just can't say the big ones.
All right. So I say, let's give Toho the money to make Godzilla versus Gamera.
Yeah,
that would be a fantastic. And you already know what the scenario is going to be for. I can guarantee you, they're going to have King Kong and Godzilla fighting for half the movie, and the two will team up against a bigger enemy.
Yes,
that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And they're the movies.
You
are
heard it here
terrible.
first. You heard it here first, out of the doctor's mouth. The secret of the new Godzilla.
That was a spoiler.
Yep. Spoiler alert after you've been spoiled.
Guess what? The bigger spoiler is the movie's getting made. That's terrible conditions. Yeah, I grew up with those. I was a Godzilla fan my whole life, which is almost from the beginning, almost.
Did you guys have the afternoon movie? Like from 3 to 3:45, where they play a 3-hour movie in 45 minutes?
Oh, no. I remember...
Channel 7 had one. They'd have like Ape Week, and then they'd have like Hammer Horror Week.
Well, I know one of the biggest tragedies in my entire life is when I went from kindergarten, where I go to kindergarten in the morning, to having to stay the whole day. And the school let out at 3:15, so even if I ran home, I would just catch the very end of Dark Shadows.
Yes.
That was major. I learned more from Dark Shadows than I did in school.
Yeah.
And so I missed out on that. But then they started running, Channel 7 out of Chicago started running all the Hammer films.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
And they run them 3:30 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 90 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I saw those, and I really liked the style that they had and the colors and everything about those. I thought those were great. And Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, it's like, wow, we got another Lugosi and Karloff. How's that even possible?
Yeah.
And they really, they pretty much just immersed themselves in the horror genre. They didn't worry about being typecast or anything.
One of the greatest movies they ever made together is Horror Express.
Yes.
I could watch that thing over and over.
Oh, yeah. Like the Gorgon is a favorite, too. And they showed that one at that time, too, and she really was creepy. So I really got appreciation for this.
Some guy brought her back. Whoever played the Gorgon
recently.
Yeah? They did a sequel, within the last year.
Yeah, they did. House of the Gorgon. I don't know if they had that lady that was but he had Carolyn Monroe.
Oh, okay.
That was the teenage heartthrob. Her and them Sinbad movies and stuff. Her and Raquel Welch. Jeez. That was always I always was loving those films. For the most part of my life, I did. Just a few turbulent years of playing in punk bands and being very self-destructive.
Yeah.
The name Destruction does not come. That's what that Dale Destruction came from. Was things got broken a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like drum sets or
sets, guitars. Phones are always a catch.
Okay.
If breaking a cell phone is something new. Trust me. Yeah. But that's in the past. But so that's how I got that name, and then I just stuck for some reason, and then it ended up being the Doctor, which is funny because my initials are DR, and so I was Dr. W when I was drawing comic book drawings and had Jack Kirby for a pen pal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's them guys. And then I got into art. I got into art because of Frazetta.
I love
Jack
your
Kirby.
paintings. I see them on when you have the art shows. You do the Universal Monsters.
It never gets old.
Yeah.
Doing a Frankenstein painting, it never gets old. And I always have to do another one because it's always going to sell.
Yeah, I see some of your artwork out here. It looks like the 70s posters. The velvet posters.
Oh, okay.
Like the skeleton over here.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's a lot of those are old Halloween die cut designs. The ones that I liked as a kid. And which is the famous green skull with orange eyes. Right. That was in an episode of Happy Days.
Yeah.
It's funny if you look those up, and everyone should. Like 1900 Halloween die cuts, circa 1900. It's interesting about the Halloween imagery is it's black cats and devils and witches and cornstalks and moons and black cats and all this. There's no monster movies yet.
Yeah.
So there's no Frankenstein. None of that's even happened yet. So it's not in Halloween. It's not even part of it, really. Yeah. And I tell people, because if they see me dressed up, they'll be like, "Oh, it's not Halloween yet." You know, because I'm dressing up to go to a convention or something. Yeah. Okay, the monster movie genre is year-round. Horror films come out year-round. There's conventions celebrating them year-round. Halloween is a seasonal thing, comes once a year. It's with the season, and it's with the pumpkins and everything else. And the two things complement each other very well, but they're not the same thing.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Halloween.
Okay.
And how things have changed from back when we were kids till now. How we'll start with the decorations and stuff. The decorations were, like you said, a skeleton guy, a witch, a crow over here. There's the old crepe paper pumpkin with floating arms on the door when you go trick or treating. Now we're getting in. You go into people's yards. You got the animatronic guy pulling his head off and screaming at you, and arms and legs thrown all over the place and stuff. Kind of going for a more gory than Halloweeny feel. That's just once again that's my personal opinion on it.
Yeah,
what do you think's going on here?
The industry, Trans World, Party City, they want to change the day to Halloween to be on the Saturday before or whatever, so that they for their sales or whatever, which is kind of dumb because everybody at the bars and everything's already doing it. They're already doing that, but I'm afraid that Party City and Trans World and this country of America has no jurisdiction over a 3,000-year-old Irish holiday.
Yeah,
but they're trying to do that. It's just kind of annoying, and it's been that got brought up lately, but it's been brought up before.
Well, I think they've gotten away from just having fun on Halloween.
Well, in Kenosha, it was a good 30 years that it was on a Sunday at 1 o'clock in the daytime.
Yeah.
For 30 years. That's 3 decades of kids that never knew what it was like to trick or treat at night on Halloween.
Yeah.
Well, they changed that 10 years ago. Actually, I ran for mayor, and that was on a platform. It was trick or treat on the day. I think maybe the mayor ended up.
Dr. Destruction.
I think they ended up. I might have helped get that done. So now it's at night on the day, it is a fantastic thing. Unfortunately, everybody in their Cadillac Escalade still think they can do 40 miles an hour through these areas where the kids are at night. And now the kids crisscross a lot, and the parents are driving them, but they crisscross a lot because only a couple of houses do. It's not like when everybody did it. So as the old man in me would say, maybe it's not such a good idea after all, because people can't slow down. Yeah. They probably should just be the kids should just be off school. It should just be this whole thing.
Yeah.
Really. And I don't know. See, because I don't know if people really have sort of a religious or spiritual connection to Halloween. Well, I think that might be.
I'll tell you, I was back in 1995. I was waiting because Kiss was going to do Unplugged, okay, with the original members. I was waiting. I've been waiting for months because I went to the Kiss convention that year, and I met all the members. I was so excited. I said, I'm going to see Kiss live. And I saw them, and I came to this. I ended up in the hospital on Halloween night with a kidney stone, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there. I'm not happy already. I got an older gentleman, who's at the end of his life next to me while I'm sitting in this hospital room. I'm sitting here, and I'm getting ready to watch Kiss, and the nurse comes in. I said, "Oh, what are you doing here tonight?" "Oh, well, I volunteered to work so the girl could, I said, "Oh, your kid's going trick-or-treating tonight?" She said, "Oh, no. I don't let my kids go out trick-or-treating due to all the Satanists that are out there." And I said, "Okay."
All the Satanists.
All the Satanists.
On Halloween.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think America really has got any sort of religious holiday belief too. I mean, we know the pagans and the witches with their sage in the kitchen, and they will think that way. But I don't really think there's that connection. I think that's probably why it's getting to be as popular or more so than Christmas. Christmas, you either have religious issues or you've got family issues.
Yeah.
With those things you don't really have with Halloween. Yeah, things change. That's just the way it is. You start sounding like a grumpy old man. Back in my day.
Yeah. Well, that's what it does change.
Everybody's going to say that because everything's going to change in their lifetime. Things aren't going to stay the same.
Tell us a little bit about your haunting history.
Well, I started haunting at a place called Kemper Center. I had a gallery space when I was in college, and it was an annex. They tore the building down, but they let us do the haunted house in the Durkee Mansion, which is a big deal because now that's all restored and everything. Mm-hmm. And back then it had all the stuff in it, but it looked like a haunted house. So I started doing that for them. But then I was looking for art jobs, and I came out here to Jerry Smith's, and I met Rosemary Smith, one of the most just beautiful woman in person I've ever met in my life. She's like the pumpkin. She was the one that started it, and I came here and she said, I go, "Do you need some painting done?" And she wanted that inside the bus painted. And I said, "Well, I could draw a bunch of black and white monsters in here." And so I did that. And then what was funny, when I walked in, she goes, "Are you from Kemper?" And at the time, I wasn't. But I said, "Yeah." So anyway, then I was married at the time. And we got married on Halloween, so we're gonna go do something at a different farm. And we got there, and we're looking at each other. We're going, "This place is falling apart. We're waiting forever for a $10 hayride," and we're like, "You know what? Let's just go back to that little farm where we did the painting." And it was already Halloween time, and then that's when I met Jerry Smith, who's like my pumpkin dad almost. I don't know. I love the guy, and I met him, and then he was like, "Well, had a couple drinks and said, we need somebody to run the haunted bus." So then I've been doing that ever since.
Okay.
And then I had a couple haunted buses that I drove that I took to county.
Yeah, you said, I heard you say that on the radio show the other night.
Yeah.
So you want to tell people about your radio program?
Well, the radio program I'm doing right now is sort of paranormal and alien subjects, even though that was this show's called Area 1051, and that's the genius John Perry, the program director at AM 1050, his idea. Okay, before, the other show was Dr. Destruction's Big Top Radio Broadcast After Midnight, and that was more movie based. I did the alien stuff too, and I find it interesting. It's hard to get to be, I feel constricted a little bit because it never was like that before. And it can be, I like doing that, but I like doing other stuff too. So we're kind of doing that. I don't know where we're at.
It's kind of sliding in.
Well, it's like it's been 2 months of doing the show, and I haven't gotten any feedback or whatnot. But that's fine. It's okay. But I got an audience, So it's my audience. I don't know. Am I really live and local for my audience, or the other audience is different? And some of those people I think that I had on before in the old show, they're doing their own radio and podcast. So now it might be like, I'm stepping on somebody's toes, wasn't my idea.
It's great to be on that late for the second shifter known as Shiki.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They love it. They love it. I got people I would never dream of that say they listen to the show at night.
Yeah,
seniors, everybody.
Yeah,
it's a great audience, and I'm blessed for that audience. So I just have to make sure that's what I think. I could probably talk about Charmin toilet paper, and they'd listen.
Well, you'd lose me on that one.
Well, you never know if we got creative with it. Well, come on now,
that you're Mr. Whipple, maybe.
Yeah, we're really.
You want Charmin to sponsor you?
No, but see, we were talking about. I'm kind of sure you think I got it. Yeah. You're talking about the old Halloween. It's like whatever happened to good old toilet paper and trees. That don't happen too much anymore. Yeah, well. And there was that humorist. There's a documentary I suggest everybody watch. I know that Dotery watched it for his Trick or Treat movie. It's called The Haunted History of Halloween. It's an old History Channel thing.
Yeah,
it's on YouTube.
I've seen it.
All right, then there's that humorist from Minnesota. I can't recall the name, but he says something like, you know, when you try to get wet toilet paper out of a really tall oak tree, you will believe in capital punishment.
Yeah. That town in Minnesota.
Anoka, Minnesota. Yeah. The
Have
Halloween
you ever been
capital
there?
of the world.
Have you ever
No,
been
I
there?
would love to. I'm here.
Yeah.
That's the downfall of having a haunted house in October, especially when it's 7 days a week, is you don't get to go to all the other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Wendigo Fest is going on right now. Rat Bat Spiders playing up
What's
there.
Wendigo Fest?
I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
It's I just know
I
people
like
that are
my
at
skin, so I don't know if I want to go to that.
it. Yeah. So yeah, it's probably getting rained out as we are right now. So
It's a very nice place.
yeah, it's unique. It's just the way they set up the corn and everything. And I've done a lot of the artwork through the years here. They got other people now because see where there's a pumpkin patch right over there. That's where my spot used to be up until 2 years ago. Until they moved me back. You are going to go take a walk through the pond.
Yeah.
So they moved it and I had to rebuild and we brought the buses back there because there's the original bus that they had here and there's the 2 haunted buses that ran that I made. I don't know.
You need to make one for the convention circuit.
I don't even know if I'll be hitting the convention circuit too much. Yeah, not with a bus.
Yeah,
I did some crazy.
That's some scary stuff.
Oh, I did some crazy stuff.
You want to talk about a haunted bus? Try taking it 400 miles, right?
You don't know what a haunted bus does. You don't even know the adventures. And in the first one, that was a rickety one too. Yeah. And I did most of the traveling in that one. And we got into Lollapalooza in '96, and it was at some county fairgrounds west of Rockford.
Winnebago. I just went through there.
Yeah, and that's where they had it, and they had all they wanted to be like a sideshow. Metallica
was there. Yeah.
And I was at Metallica. Anyway, they had the Headless Woman. They had all this stuff. Yeah. There's this crazy chick that was running it, but she was nicest lady. Green hair or silver dress, big platforms. She knew Johnny Thunders, so we were talking about that, but we're making bank. It's like 11 o'clock. I think we had a couple grand already.
Yeah.
And they didn't want nothing from us for being there. I'm like, we could have went on the whole tour.
Yeah.
I don't know how that bus would have made it. It probably wouldn't have. But, so we're doing really good, and we're thinking positive. We're going to go on this tour now. This is going to be for real. And it was like 98 degrees and no clouds. Yeah. And all of a sudden, everybody's just struggling for water. I mean, it was actually a dangerous situation, I would say, with that many people in the heat.
You're okay.
And probably a dangerous situation. And anyway, that killed all the business.
All right, so it was super hot out.
Yeah, it was super hot out at the Metallica concert in Rockford for the Lollapalooza. Yeah. And this is one of the Headless Lady was there. It was a lot of things. It was hot. And it's getting to around sunset when Metallica's supposed to be going on. And I'm like, man, am I getting heat stroked or what? Because I'm looking at the stage, and it kind of looks like, like a warped segment from a Roger Corman film,
mm-hmm.
When they warp the picture. Or it looks kind of like looking at a snowy television set.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I seeing here? This is almost like it's supernatural.
Yeah.
But there has to be an explanation, of course. That's the way I take with all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm seeing this thing. And finally somebody had some binoculars. They go, here, look. And I put the binoculars on. It was a bazillion water bottles being thrown in the air in front of the stage. And Metallica's like, stop it! These are the guys that used to tell their people to rip the sod out of the grass and throw it at them. But, that was one of the adventures, definitely with traveling the haunted bus across the countryside.
So, haunted buses to horror host television. You've done it all.
Yeah,
Stage, screen. Have you written anything?
I haven't written anything but songs.
Okay, well, as long as it's something.
Yeah, I wrote some songs. Was in Killing Poe. That's a good movie. It's still available on Amazon.
What about the Mortuary Girls?
Mortuary Girls was a local film.
I want to come to that party.
Yeah, yes, you should come to that party. Mortuary Girls was done by my film friend Mark Gumbinger. I didn't know him before we made the film. And then he kind of put a cameo in, and then later we made the Mortuary Girls song, which I wrote just for the movie. And had a lot of fun doing that. But it's like, I like that movie, or being in a movie is a really interesting thing. because I'll watch it and I'll be like, well, I knew what was going on in the background, or I know the scene or what was going on in that time in life. It's just it's a cool thing to be able to do. And then I did Mortuary Girls. Killing Poe. I didn't know any of those people. They contacted me, and they actually contacted me in, like, I want to say 2011. And they told me the plot for Killing Poe, and I was like, that's great. He goes, well, we're waiting for funding. That's what they all say. I almost forgot about them completely. And they got a hold of me in 2013, said they had the money, and they wanted to do a Kickstarter to get some more, and that we'd shoot summer of 2013. And then we did. And I met Rick Plaxtina, who plays the college professor, the vindictive college professor in there. He even did stuff like All in the Family episodes and stuff. He's a stage actor, which is like, wow. I'm like, well. And then I did this one scene where I'm interrogating this kid, college kid, and we get done with that, and then the director comes up, well, you know who that is? And I go, I don't know if nobody is here. I don't know what's going on. I thought it was a college movie. I didn't know what it was. Oh, that's Rick Bush. He was in Trouble with the Curve with Clint Eastwood. And then Oswald Chow, he's in Supernaturals, and he's in 2012, that movie 2012. Yeah. So they had some names, so that was good. Did the premieres and everything. Then there's a local guy I just accidentally met, and then we made, I think, was probably one of the most fun projects that I've done is that one. As Greg the Grouchy Gremlin. It's a 10-minute short with the Dr. Destruction character in it. It's on YouTube.
Check it out.
But now Danny did a movie called I Dream of Psychopomp, and it's an anthology. And I'm a vampire in one of the segments, and I got to work with Ben Shaw, who was he's a male model. Now he's doing acting and stuff. And what's really interesting, before I met him, like the week before, while I was doing the radio show, I always have my Facebook up, and I see this video, and it's Gary Oldman, Tim Roth, who's the other one that was in, William Dafoe, all the creepy guys, Adrian Brody. It's all the creepy actors that are alive today, and they're in Milan in like a male model show with all these younger models. So I'm talking to Ben Shaw while we're waiting around to film for Greg the Grouchy Gremlin. I Dream of Psychopomp. I'm mixing them up, and we're there. They didn't need either one of us, so we're talking about everything under the sun. And he's Australian, and I brought up this video and explained it like I just did to you. And he goes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm in it. And he's in it. And I'm like, what is that, a coincidence there? Yeah. And then I think Liebling, Juliet Liebling, is that her name? She was in a movie. She's got her picture. She was in a Spielberg movie with Tom Hanks. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that one coming up. I really don't have any lines. It's sort of a cameo. It's an important character, though, in the story, which is good because you can't miss me. But here I'm thinking, I'm going to get this vampire makeup and everything, and fangs and whatnot. Yeah, I got fangs, but no makeup. I was like, yeah. And then I got the scene where I've got this dead girl was actually, she was actually on the show, the radio show with me, and she was a regular co-host, and then she was on the television show. So she was like the victim. Kind of did a victim thing, and I was supposed to bite her neck or something, but the guy was like squirting blood, and I don't know, some homemade stuff or what it was, because it tasted like crap, and he's squirting that. I'm all full of blood. Blood's everywhere, and we're laying in this dusty floor of this theater lobby, and I just, that's not my way of my idea of working on someone's neck with them all full of blood and some fangs.
I can't really. I've never really thought about it like that.
It's not what you. It's not glamorous
that
at all.
That don't really go through my head. I'm sorry about that. All right. Well, let's get your stuff in that you're going to be doing here, and where to get a hold of you on the television.
Okay. Well, my show is on television, obviously, in Kenosha. It's streamed Saturday at 9 p.m. Central Time, Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Time, and midnight Central Time on Friday. And that's on KenoshaCommunityMedia.org, or it's KenoshaMedia.org. And then there's a Kenosha Community Media Roku channel. Yes. So that you can watch anywhere. The radio show, it's AM 1050 WLIP here in Kenosha, or AM 10, WLIP.com. Yes. And you can stream that there live. And then shows coming up, we're doing a Halloween party at TG's in Kenosha on 7th Avenue with Elvis impersonator, Frank Sinatra impersonator, Marilyn Monroe impersonator, And then they've got me being roasted. I guess I'm the only real one that's not an impersonator.
Okay.
So that's coming up on Halloween, and the tickets are $20 for that. Includes food and first drink and whatnot. Then my party is November 2nd at 58 Below in Kenosha, and I have 5 bands. I got Wretched Scrags, Slaughter Party, Amsterdam, and Fiendish Phantoms, and then my band Roosevelt Dolls. And by the way, Amsdale wrote a really cool tribute song. Did you hear that song?
Not yet.
That they did? Do you know about it?
I know about it.
Okay,
I saw the link.
I was having a bad day the day I got to hear that, and it was fantastic. I really like what they did. So that's going to be a really cool show, and I'm hoping to have the screening of the Mortuary Girls cast reunion, and hopefully a belly dancer.
I'm in. All right, give him one of your Dr. Destruction's famous laughs on the way out.
Happy Halloween!
Good night. The preceding program has been brought to you by...
I have traveled the mystical realms for years. I'm now here to answer the unanswered questions you have at Madame Bacardi Smirnoff's Psychic Hotline. Thank you for calling. How may I answer your question?
Well, you must have been really busy tonight because I've been on hold for like 10 minutes. But anyway, my question is, am I gonna get that new job?
First, I need to ask you a question. What is your birthday?
My birthday was April 2nd, 1983.
Okay.
What's the...
Hold on, I have another question for you. Was it a full moon the night you were born?
I'm not really sure. Can you Google that?
Okay, hold on.
I've been on here now. This is 99 cents a minute. I don't know. The longer I can wait. I just need to answer.
Okay, I looked up. Okay, you tell me. What is your question?
Am I gonna get that new job I applied for?
Well, have you paid the bill yet?
No.
Well, the answer is no then. Goodbye.
Madame Bacardi's Psychic Hotline. Call 815-797-2887. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.